Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very tough topic for me to discuss, as I've only had experience with women in Georgia and various states and countries via the internet, and even with that, I haven't talked to many women, and I'm aware that I mostly talk to the same kind of women. Nonetheless, I'm still going to do my best on this topic, but beware, this might be a little more biased than normal. So I'm writing this on the 5th of February, and yesterday Playback released a video about passport men or passport bros, which are essentially people who leave their country to find, the woman of their desires. And you hear that and think it doesn't sound too bad, because we as Americans love foreigners like Kang Se-byuk, Nairobi, Lupita Nyong, just to name a few, right? As Americans, the lust for foreign women is as old and is so strong that it's common for me to see Vietnam veterans with Vietnamese or South Asian wives. So the conflict or antagonist of this episode isn't the idea of leaving the country to date or marry a foreigner. It's the antagonist here is using that idea or the desire to execute that idea to downplay, stereotype, or downright defame Western women, and how it supports the fallacies of impressionable people across the globe. And today we're going to be referencing this video by Playback, the Playback video I mentioned earlier, and we're going to start by criticizing the people in the video and then choose a few comments as an example. I'm really having a tough time speaking right now. Anyways, so first we got this guy. He allegedly met this woman in Thailand. Why did I say it like that? And he went there to find, I quote, a traditionalist woman. The way he, I guess, proves that she's a traditionalist woman is by asking her a question and her exclaiming, and I quote,
"I can cook, I can clean."
He follows this up by saying all American women do is complain. Okay, we're gonna attack his opening point first, and I'm gonna begin my rebuttal by playing the numbers game. I'm aware numbers go both ways, and the numbers I use omit a lot of nuance, but let me cook. First off, Thailand is smaller than the state of Texas, and according to this 2021 World Bank study presented by Google, Thailand has a population of 72 million people if you round up. According to the 2020 US Census, there are 167 million in the US. The United States has more women than Thailand has people, and avoiding the cultural differences and things like that, your odds of finding a traditional woman or a woman with the same values as you are higher here than there, based off just true numbers. Now, I'm not familiar with Thailand's cultural values and things like that. Maybe they're a more traditional society, air quotes. More on that later. Anyways, I don't actually think never mind. I bring this up to say I've been watching more foreign channels, for example, like Grim Reapers, their group channel led by an Englishman named Cap. In this group, there's also a German guy, and they always remark at how massive our country is, and I use that to say the American experience varies exponentially, not just by whatever state you're in, but down to what city you're in or even what part of the city you're in. So instead of doing research or whatever and visiting / moving to another state or another city, he decided to go halfway across the world. But now it's time for the meat and potatoes. He claims that this woman is a traditionalist and flaunts how she cooks, cleans, and based on the stereotype he threw out, she also doesn't complain. And I sincerely hope that being a traditional woman has more depth than cleanliness and resilience. And based on the fact he enjoys stereotypes, stereotypically, if you want a woman who doesn't complain and does traditional wife shit, wouldn't you want a Middle Eastern wife like from Saudi Arabia? Because stereotypically, those women don't have many rights and they are raised / conditioned to rely and be obedient to men. Continuing with these stereotypes, according to the NIM statistics, roughly 2.3% of Americans have OCD. If we round up, 2% of those adults are women. 2% of the population is 2.7 million women. Stereotypically, OCD people are very clean. But numbers and stereotypes aside, assuming that all 137 million American women are non-traditional traditionalist people is a gross fallacy of childish proportion. And side notes, cleaning up after yourself isn't a traditional value. I want to say it's a part of being an adult, but there's kids in pre-K that understand that you need to pick up after yourself. And there's a lot of people who don't enjoy picking up after other people. So to his other point, he boldly claims is American women do nothing but complain, and that's why you should get your passport. And Agent and Low don't pick up on this, but complain about what? What are American women complaining about to you? If every girl you talk to, if you talk to a lot of women, or if every girl you talk to all have a complaint about you, it seems like you're the issue. And let's mention it could be the type of woman you go after too. It could also be the area you live in. And speaking of where you live, even if you talked to, dated, or even had sex with 100 different women in your area, that's not even 1% of the women in the fucking city I live in. And I don't live in that big of a city. So for you to sit here and pass these gross ass stereotypes of American women, it is absolutely unacceptable. Okay, I'm gonna end my critique of this guy by explaining a phenomenon. I also don't think I got back on that point I mentioned later, so forget it. Correlation does not equal causation. The way my professor explained it, a majority of people who beat their wife and kids were abused as a child, but not everyone who's abused as a child grow up to beat their wife and kids. Correlation does not equal causation. Just because Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, Ruby Rose, and Ice Spice dress in very revealing clothes, do a lot of twerking, and are very open and even flaunt their sex life and sexual exploits does not mean that all black women dress slutty and are wannabe strippers. Correlation does not equal causation. Moving on, because I have a lot to criticize, we're going to skip this guy here who makes a buffoonery claim, and we get this guy. And Jesus. Okay, I have a stream reacting to one of this guy's videos, and let's just say I woefully disagree with him on so many levels, but let's dive into this. You may agree or disagree. So he begins this video, or at least this part they referenced in Playback, with this high school chick flick ass story about meeting this girl. And while I'm sure this story is true since he's a very attractive man, there's also a few bullet points I want to take from this so we don't have to listen to the story. So the story goes, he locked eyes with this beautiful Brazilian lady. She approached him, they made out, and they agreed to go on a date. Now, before we get into said date, when explaining the story, homeboy passes some seemingly harmless stereotypes, but we're only going to discuss one of them. One of his stereotypes that he passed, the one that we're going to discuss, he said that they met and within 5 seconds they were kissing.
Back and within maybe 5 or 6 seconds we were kissing. That's a normal thing in Brazil.
He goes on a tangent about her ordering his food and touching on him. Then he ends up by censoring himself, but he very clearly was about to say she was trying to fuck, and he adds that this is apparently, and I quote, a normal thing in Brazil. So he just sets a stereotype that Brazilian women are very flirtatious, and from his facial expressions you can assume that he's into flirtatious women. But then Giga Chad here gives us a slice of life episode, and he takes us on his first date with her. Before we commentate on this date, look at the lady he's dating. Very pretty lady. From previous experience, I know that this is his type and things like that, and this is the kind of woman he goes after. It's a trend I can see from, at least from what he shows publicly, right? And this is what kills me about the Andrew Tate / Sneeko community's opinions on women, little tangent, because they date and go after and commentate on bougie women and get upset or angry when they do bougie things. They interview frat girls and are shocked and mortified when they give frat girl answers. It's stupid. Anyways, back to this date. Despite the stereotypes about women who look like this, she seems very nice, but this entire date, at least from what we can see, he's just antagonizing her by making assumptions about her character and judging her based on those assumptions, which sounds very hypocritical because I'm about to make assumptions about his character and judge him for it. So of course this video is condensed because Agent and Laura reacted to it. And also, this date, I'm assuming, is either takes place over the evening or over 2 different days. He's talking to her in this passive aggressive tone, and from what I can see, she handles it very well. I mean, she playfully slaps him and tries to laugh it off, but he doubles down and continues to say things like, she thinks she can do this, but I won't let her. Other men let her get away with this attitude and I won't. And of course he's talking to us, the viewers, but he's basically talking shit to her in the third person about herself, and enough of that would piss anyone off. Then in the next scene, she is visibly upset and he's still antagonizing her in a passive aggressive tone. So as you can see, he has some severe character issues. For one, he doesn't have the emotional intelligence to present these issues he has in a manner that allows her to defend herself, much less talk it out. He's consistently trying to validate himself, being an asshole to this girl, to his viewers, and he's also patronizing her or talking to her in a patronizing way, which just means he's basically trying to say, like, acting like he's superior to her, which is universally annoying, so on and so forth. I bring that up because he just kind of seems like an asshole in this video, and he seems to be a little immature and childish, and not in a I still watch cartoons and dress up for Halloween immature. I mean like the I think I'm right and I'm going to be petty about it immature. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that personality isn't going to mesh well with some people, especially with women of similar personalities or people who can't admit they're wrong. So this upsets me because he wants to talk shit and stereotype American women when they probably didn't want him because he has a shitty personality. He wants a high-end submissive women, which there are plenty of in the United States, but he's going after extroverted flirtation women that will just make out with him on the street 12 seconds after they met. It's just lunacy. And also, he talks about how dating in America is terrible. Also in that video, they end up either breaking up or I don't know. He was just like, there's a quote in there where he's like, you're not who I thought you were. Assuming they broke up. They weren't really dating. They just went on a date, like they weren't boyfriend or girlfriend. But it's also insane how he moved to Brazil because apparently dating is so bad in America, and he says it's so good in Brazil, yet he's been down there for a while and he's still fucking single. Obviously it's not. Anyways, look, we're gonna end this by choosing 2 or 3 comments to react to and things of that nature. Okay, all right. The first one is the top comment at the time of writing this, and this one isn't as bad as I thought it was. I'm gonna paraphrase and show it on screen, but it basically says, are people who are unhappy with how their American relationships turned out, so they go to other countries and unintentionally realize they have, those people have the value that they want, which makes sense. The only thing I disagree with is, or 2 things I disagree with is, passport bros isn't exclusive to America. People immigrate to and from countries across the world and experience this phenomenon. I also think unintentional is debatable, especially based off the 3 examples of the Playback video. The next comment says, I'm a first-generation American, and I can tell you women in the Western world, specifically USA, England, and Canada, are overwhelmingly masculine, and if the top percentage of men are struggling to keep them happy, then you shouldn't be mad at men for searching for partners in more traditional countries. And my response to this is, first off, what the fuck is a masculine woman? And if I'm familiar with geography, England is in fucking Europe, but I'll give him a pass and say England is a westernized country, and I'm not gonna argue masculinity because I don't really understand that, but it is naive and rather stupid for you to assume that a majority of the women don't have, air quotes, traditional value, because from what I see, either traditional values are super simple and basic, or it's poorly explained. There are a lot of women that will happily cook and clean for their husband as long as you're not a slob who scoffs at washing dishes. Also, a lot of women who would love for you to pay for their dates and open doors for them and do chivalry stuff like that. And there's a lot of submissive women in America. So if being a traditional woman is just being submissive in doing housewife stuff like laundry and stuff, there's a lot of women like that in America. I don't understand what the stereotype is. But anyways, from what's being presented, a traditional woman is what I just said, and because of that, they have and just because they have a trouble finding a woman that, you know, who not only does the housewife shit but also puts up with their character issues, doesn't mean that they don't exist. And you can't use that to then go on a crusade against Western women, you know, and slandering them. Anyways, he may be right about this statistically. I'll look it up in another video. But as of right now, I'm just going to agree to disagree with this guy. It's a good comment, but I just can't get behind it. And we're going to end with this guy. Oh, brother. He says, and I'm paraphrasing, with the amount of videos on your channel, Playback, showing how trash a lot of women in the West are, it's crazy to see you make a video where you purposely get bad clips and to bash men for seeking women in different countries. And that's silly. This is fucking stupid. This is like watching horror movies and assuming all blonde chicks are stupid. This is like watching anime and assuming all Japanese women have big eyes. He thinks Western women are trash, or in his own words, a lot of them are trash, and he watches a channel that criticizes Western women. And I say this is fucking stupid because that's like someone who thinks men are violent, then becomes a homicide detective and uses that experience to go on a crusade saying men are violent. You have a fallacy, then you only watch things that support your fallacy. And that's stupid. If you're a kid, it's naive. But if you're an adult, you're a fucking idiot for this. And Lo does this too, and it bothers me. Asian and Lo react to so many stupid videos. They believe society is stupid or doomed. And they watch a lot of videos of bougie hood girls projecting a lot of stupid opinions, then insinuate that a majority or a large portion of black women think these stupid things. And that's just not true. Or even if it is, you're doing a bad job of presenting it when your evidence is a bunch of people from similar situations and have the same ideas. I know there's two kinds of tests. I don't remember the names of it, but there's one test where you get, you know, people for a survey and you grab random people. But also there's a different kind of test to where you grab the same kinds of people. Like, you know, you're doing a survey and you grab specifically black people. You grab specifically Mexican people from this city. You grab people from this neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like, it's super specific. So you can't take it should be obvious. It's hard for me to explain shit that elementary. Anyways, I'm gonna end this with two requests. If you want to be a passport bro and move to a different country to court different kinds of women, all I ask is, one, go for it. Do your thing. But don't use your idea or desire to go to a different country to find women or find love to slander a whole continent or country of women. It's just stupid, it's ignorant, it's childish, it's all kinds of fucked up. And two, go to South Korea. They're in the middle of a fertility crisis and they would really appreciate you having a family over there. Anyways, I'm gonna put out some more lighthearted videos or two, then we're gonna figure out what the fuck masculinity is. This is a longer one. Yeah, I'm not gonna drag this out anymore. If you're hearing my voice right now, I really appreciate it. You're doing more enough to get this thing going. So yeah, until we meet in the next video or the comments, remember, you know, next video we have next. So also Atari and
joint will be hopping. The octopus said the same thing to Yoshi. It's about being patient, picking your moment. So snap out of it. You can't let a couple of losses blow you off course. You don't have to win now, just someday. Slow and steady wins the race, right? Well, it kills the octopus.